My Xanax. Boy, I love them things. I'm in love with them things. You know what? I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. It seems to work for me. They found me in the morning butt naked with blood on the carpet.
Normal for you to end up naked?
It's comfortable, you know? It's God's clothes.
Welcome to The Recovery Idiot. Please like and subscribe and visit therecoveryidiot.com. Home of the Recovery Idiot store. Guaranteed to not be in the Epstein files. Find us in all the darkest places of the interwebs. The following contains explicit language and situations that some might find unsettling. Viewer discretion is advised. Bienvenidos a Miami.
The last guy, great guy, very successful, crackhead in prison and all this exciting stuff. But Jesus Christ, too smart. It's called The Recovery Idiot for a reason. We are not aiming at an intellectually stimulated crowd or looking for the garbage people like us.
All right.
I mean, I think you agree we're garbage people.
Yes, we're all sick.
Okay, well, let's start. My name is Leroy, recovered alcoholic addict. Today with me is...
Wesley, anything and everything?
And everything that's about to be discussed here allegedly happened. Is that safe to say?
Sure.
Okay. So how exactly did you get here?
I lived in Miami for 39 years. That's where I was raised. My parents were band members. They were also addicts and alcoholics, too.
Was it a band people would know?
No. It's just something they did with a bunch of group of friends. So I learned party life real early in life. I would be with the band members and basically diapers hanging out. Then, I got to a point to where I got a little older and we had a bar, which was great. They would drink and do cocaine and they never knew I was behind there drinking. Perfect hiding spot. They couldn't see me. All the liquor back there, my parents are doing it. Shit, why can't I? I was at that age, about 13, 14, to where the curiosity killed the cat. It obviously killed me at some point. So I was drinking behind the bar all the time, while my parents were smoking weed, doing cocaine and drinking. I would go to sleep and they're like, oh, how cute. No, it's not cute. I was fucking drunk. I was passed the fuck out. I was in an abusive situation with my dad. He would play the drums and then he'd always beat me after. That was a pleasant scene every night of my life. My mom was just a partier and my mom she didn't defend me, which that was okay. I learned the hard way. So as life went on, I got about 15, 16, and all of a sudden girls came into my life. And then it was fucking madness at that point. I go to high school, I think I'm the shit, which I'm really not. I'm just about $120, just fucking thinking I'm cool. And I started meeting chicks that like me, and they're doing all types of drugs.
It is Miami. It would make sense.
Yeah, and with that said, anything they wanted to do, I was down. Then, I started realizing at 16 and 17 that I like this stuff. It's not the girls that are making me do it now. I'm just doing it to kill the pain from my childhood. There's a lot of trauma in my life. It got really bad. I was skipping school. I got into high school. Yeah, high school wasn't for me. I'd rather smoke weed and chill. That was my game plan for...
Well, I tried doing that in high school, but they kicked me out for some reason.
I had to leave that situation. Then I got heavy on the cocaine, and I started realizing that I like anything and everything I could get my hands on because it takes me away from the pain and the suffering and the miserableness I had been through. And I don't want to remember things. And I grabbed everything. It doesn't matter what it was. Drugs, alcohol, the ego, the madness in my family, whatever it was. I latched onto that shit. Tobacco, the whole 9 yards. When I got a little older and the drugs got a little more crazier, I remember tripping one day and this guy's driving me around. He's going to school at the University of Miami. We end up in the middle of nowhere, which I think was kind of like a dope bowl area, which I'm like, dude, why am I here tripping balls? Like, what the fuck's going on, dude? Where you got me? We pull up to a shopping center and there's a bunch of cars in there, but none of the stores are open. It's like 10:30 at night. So I walk in and it was like an old arcade, which was great. Yeah, I ended up losing the people and walking out. No cars were there, and I'm all by myself. Yeah, that was very interesting. I got into a lot harder stuff. Let's get to the crazy shit of my life. My parents didn't pay attention to me, so I was out running the streets. It didn't fucking matter. I called my dad one day. He's like, where are you? I'm like 17 years old. I said, I'm in New York City. He goes, what? You're in New York? What the fuck are you doing there? You're not at home? I said, no, I'm not at home. I'll see you later. But, my parents knew I could defend myself and that I was pretty smart when it comes to the street stuff. Everything else, I was pretty much an idiot, including my relationships with women and everybody else. I got to a point in my addiction that the adrenaline rush, the drug rush, all of it, I was so addicted to it to where if there was something you had, I took it and I didn't care the lengths of doing it. I had to watch my my roommate blow his head off, which that was fucking interesting.
Like accidental or?
No, like he wanted to kill himself. Like, yeah. So that was pretty interesting, pretty gory at the time. But you know what? The drugs made it easy. That was easy to get along. You know, I was doing heroin at the time. I was pushing caps every day. Also snorting a lot of cocaine. You know, that is the best.
They go good together also.
Well, especially when you put them in a needle and you speedball them.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
fucking great. I love it. You know, all these people do it in their necks. You know, back then we didn't do it in our necks. You know, we hit the real spots. You know, I'm not with all that neck popping and shit. And it got worse. You know, I robbed people gunpoint. I robbed from major stores and went back and I sold them back their shit. It was fucking great. Just to get that high, just to keep the adrenaline going, to purchase what my drug of choice was at the time. I was on Special K for 5 years of my life. I did a lot of wicked shit during that because I had to keep that up. I wanted to stay in that state of mind forever. I realized that it's very fun and addicting. and I really don't, you know, if I go back there, that's it. I'm gonna fly away.
One of the things that's hard to explain to people, the rush from like a speedball is amazing. But the rush when you're breaking the law, committing a felony, while you're also high, you can't compare that ever.
That's the best feeling in the world. I'm a little older now, and I decided to hook up with some people down there, and we just started we upscaled our criminal activities to bigger and better things, you know? I called my dad one day, and he's like, Wes, you're on TV. And I said, excuse me?
This is America's Most Wanted, and I'm John Walsh.
He goes, yeah, you're on TV, man. They're looking for you. And I was all the way in Virginia, you know. I didn't know fucking better.
Tonight, we'll ask for your help with one of the Justice Department's top priority cases.
Yeah, it's a very scary moment. You know, I dyed my hair like an idiot and rushed back down to Miami and hoped to God nobody found me, which that worked for a minute. But, you know, you know how it is. Once you're addicted to something, you keep doing it and doing it. So I went back to do more of whatever I was doing at the time. The reason why you got to put zip codes in your gas pumps, you're welcome. I had a hand in that. You know, so I went back up there and I'm in Cumberland County, North Carolina, and I get pulled over. I get out. I got 2-carat earrings in my ear. I got Rolex watches on. I got the rings. I'm driving a sporty-ass luxury car that was super fast. And, you know, them boys out in Cumberland County, you know, they don't like the city slickers rolling through there. So they pulled me over. And, you know, the whole 9 yards, please. Turn off your car, open the door with your left hand, stick both, you know, the whole bullshit. I was down on my knees within like 2 minutes. So I went back to them and they're looking at me, what you doing here, boy? I said, I'm just traveling through. He's like, well, you look like a drug dealer. And I said, sir, that is not what's going on here, you know? So I told him my real name with my real license. And I told them who was in the car, their real name. Well, they're idiots. When they got out, they gave them the fake driver's license they had. I was like, bro, you really hooked yourself up there. They asked to search the car because this guy dropped some, you know, a bag of herb out of his jeans. And the cop asked me if it was mine. I said, fuck no, it's on the other side of the car. How can that be mine? He goes, well, then he asked the other guy, and the guy goes, that's not mine. He goes, how are you going to fucking lie to me? The grass is wet and your bag is dry. Like, get the fuck out of here. It's been raining all morning. I was like, oh boy. They searched the car. They looked at my wallet with all my stuff in it, and they just threw it back in the car. But unfortunately, my buddy had hidden a whole bunch of things in my car, and they found it, and it rolled really fast from then. I was on the side of 95, handcuffed, shackled. He was on the other side of the medium. All of a sudden, he gets up to take a piss, and he's gone. And I'm now all by myself with the cops and the troopers and all this shit. And I'm like, all right, thanks, guy. But I understand, you know, everybody's got to get away somehow.
Look out for yourself sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what a selfish dick. But I went to their jail. They didn't really know what to do with me. This was so long ago to where things like this weren't happening. They tried to charge me with stuff they couldn't, but I'm not allowed back in North Carolina. They said if I go back, I'm going to get 50 counts of fraud. Yeah. Unsettling for me, so I make sure if I'm going anywhere near there, it's in a plane and I'm flying over it.
Yes, I will not go back to Kansas. And that I was asked personally. Missouri, I think I'm just doing him a favor if I don't go back. Some places we don't need to go back to.
No, so I choose not to. You know, in the adrenaline rush, riding the motorcycles real fast, doing dangerous things, driving my cars like an animal. Sorry if I've ever cut you off. I do that quite a bit. You know, I had a sister. She grew up with me too, you know, and she passed away because of this disease, you know, and I just couldn't help her. She wasn't ready. And, you know, maybe I was wrong with that, but you know what? It was predetermined that was going to happen during that time. You know, my life went on a little more. I got hooked up with this girl, was not in sobriety, nothing. We were both fucking drunks because that's when my drunk days started happening. And in my Xanax, boy, I love them things. I'm in love with them things. I know. He's got the fucking badass candle to prove it, dude. our lives went on. We accidentally had a kid, but it was a beautiful thing. You know, we got a child out of it. He's a great guy. He's 20 years old now. Very smart and intelligent, good looking dude. It was great. But our relationship during him growing up was not so great. You know, I'm sitting there, I own my own business, I'm selling Xanax bars. I'm just fucking hustling and not worrying about my kid, like missing a lot of time. You know, you and I have talked, you know, we work like animals. Sometimes we work so much we don't have a personal life. That's what was going on. So I missed a lot of his life due to Xanax and cocaine and selling stuff. Our relationship was always a downfall. We were constantly at each other's throat. And, you know, I come to realize now what it's about. My ego ruined all my relationships. My pride, my ego, all that bullshit just took over, you know. It's, people don't understand that it carries many faces. It's not just the word ego. It is the tough guy, the hustler, the ladies' man, the liar, you know, the con artist, so on and so forth. So I just burned that fucking relationship. I was with her for 21 years.
Jeez.
And yeah, and then we were about to separate, and I don't know. We went to the Keys where my grandmother had a place right on the water, and, you know, we made up, if you get it. And then all of a sudden I had another kid.
So wait, your kids are how many years apart?
I got a 20-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Oh, okay. That's
Oh,
still crazy, but I was thinking 20-year difference.
It was fucking complete madness with them two. The little one wanted to hang out with the big one, and the big was nowhere interested on that shit. So I got a lot of heartache on that one. But it is what it is. You know, I did any drug I could get my hands on, everything. And then once fentanyl hit the scene, you know, I was at a point in my life to where, all right, if I'm going to do drugs, it needs to be tested and it needs to be from somewhere, you know. Fentanyl is very dangerous. I had a sister-in-law, her husband, which was a very bad dude when I was growing up. You know, she called me and she's like, hey, he's no longer with us. I said, what, he finally get shot? She goes, no, he hit a vape pen that had marijuana vape pen with fentanyl in it. He died the instant he hit it. So this stuff came out, and it was super scary for me. When we were doing drugs, drugs were drugs. Mm-hmm. You went out and got heroin, you got cocaine, you got ice, whatever the fuck you were doing, that's what you were getting. It might have been cut once or twice, but not cut with this shit.
No Chinese research chemicals. No,
Yeah.
even China White from New York, which was technically fentanyl or type of fentanyl. No one was dying. Like, it was the right amount that they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I started doing drugs in the 90s. I didn't know anyone who overdosed until 2009. And that's because he did coke until his heart blew up. That happened all the time. But an actual, like, overdose, I never knew anyone. I overdosed like 5 times between 2015 2019. Obviously, I lived. But between 2019 and now, I know 40 people, 50 people
Wow.
who have overdosed.
That's a lot. Overdosing. That's only really kind of happened to me once. You know, I was a younger dude at this point. What was it? GHB? Oh, yeah.
That stuff was great.
So my pot dealer had jugs of it. And I was like, all right. And he's like, hey, would you like some? So I know you're only supposed to take like a cap or something.
Yeah,
so
it's very
I took
salty.
a cap every time I went over there. This time he gave me, you know, those little spit cups with the peanuts and the Scooby-Doo and all that shit on them. He filled that up and he's like, here, take this. So I drank it like an idiot. Well, I get to my boy's house and I'm sitting in there. All of a sudden, my respiratory system started to fail. I started nodding out and going to sleep. Oh, yeah, it was an adventure. And they didn't know anything about bringing people back, you know, with Narcan. They drove me home. They threw my keys on the counter, and I was laying naked next to the toilet when I woke up. Yeah, that was a great experience. The experiences we have when this shit goes on is ludicrous. It's crazy. The cocaine and the alcohol is what really got me. At one point, I was a waiter at a big hall where they have like events, and I was drinking and drinking. I went around the corner once and I hit my I hit the thing you keep the glasses on, boom, and it fucking almost took my whole finger off. So all the little Latin guys, they put me in a truck and they're like, hey bro, we're gonna keep you on the clock right now, but don't you drive nowhere. And I'm like, as soon as they walked away, that truck went on like it went on so fast. And I went home and I'm gushing blood out of my hand. All of a sudden, you know, I didn't know this occurred, but my dad said, go look at the back of your truck in the morning. That shit was full of throw up in the bed. I was in the bed crawling around in it. You know, I was bleeding like crazy. They found me in the morning butt naked with blood on the carpet, fucking drunk as shit. It's just, the shit we go through, man, is just...
So is it normal for you to end up naked after doing a lot of drugs?
It seems like it. It seems like it's comfortable, you know? It's God's clothes, so, you know, I can dig it. It gets a little cold at times. But yeah, and then, you know, it came to a point in my life to where the party needed to end. I remember when my aunt, you know, she's been recovered for over 40 years now, and she tried to, my dad's been recovered for about 35, but she runs a program and my dad doesn't. My dad's a very miserable person sometimes. My aunt is fucking awesome. Her husband's dying and everything, and she's still rocking.
So one's like a dry drunk and one's recovered.
Yep, and the recovered person is happy. She don't give a fuck what's going on in her life. So I remember when she first took me to one. Man, I was like 16 years old, dude. I walk in that shit, and the smoke that was coming from these cigarettes was unfucking believable. And I'm like, what the fuck did I walk myself into? I look at the ceiling tile, they're fucking yellow. All the old men are sitting there with ashes like this far off their cigarette. Like, what the fuck's going on here? I just knew that shit wasn't for me. I say, you know what? I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. It seems to work for me. And I did.
So you went to like a meeting at 16?
Yeah, she brought me to one, and I'm like, no, this shit is not for me. I said, I'm not doing this shit. That was my first experience. I didn't know much about, a lot of this stuff like rehab and recovery and all that. It came into my life at 16, and I just forgot about that shit, Well, we'll get back to the relationship with the children. She had enough. So she let me go, and I fell apart. I had nowhere to live. I was sleeping in my plumbing van out in front of the shop. Things were getting extremely, extremely bad. I was getting to a point in my life to where, to be honest with you, everything I've done in my life hasn't scared me. This was starting to scare me, Well, I'm at work one day, and I hit like 6 palm trees in a row that were just planted in my work truck, and it was a nice Lexus. I hit that shit too, right? So as soon as the accident happened, I got out of my this is how fucked up I was. I got out of my van, and I called one of the helpers. Hey, you got to come pick me up now. I still got jobs to do. He came and he picked me up. I threw my tools in it, and I fucking left the scene. I was I was more concerned about getting the jobs done than fucking dealing with what I was dealing. But, there was a guy in my life who owned that plumbing company. He was in the Martin County Sheriff Department, and he saved my life. He got me to go to a detox here in Stewart, Coastal. I went there. I detoxed from the bullshit, and I realized that I'm going to have to live without my children now. I need to go to the next part of this rehabilitation or whatever they wanted to call it, and I needed to go away from here. I needed to make sure that I could understand emotionally and physically not living with my kids anymore, because I knew that's the route. I mean, that was happening regardless what was going on. I finished there after a month. They tried to put me on all these meds. I told them to go fuck themselves. I said, I'll hang out on the heart meds, because that has to do with my heart. But all this other bullshit, yeah, no, you can get rid of that. I said, I know what you're doing. You're taking advantage of me. I said, I'm not dealing with this bullshit. So I left. I found a place. The picture looks really nice online. Name Artesian.
Is there a picture of a girl on the beach?
No, but it was a different area of the house. And so I said, all right, fuck it. I need to give this a try. I'm real close to my kids, 5 minutes. This should be a good option for me. I have nowhere to go at this point. I had to give my pit bull away. I had to give everything away. So I arrived, and at that point, I judge people. I'm still the asshole. I'm very, very judgmental. And I didn't like fucking a lot of shit. Like, I didn't know what to do with my life, especially being sober now. Like, I was like, this shit sucks. I'd rather be fucking eating bars and fucking watching TV or doing something. I knew I had to give it a chance.
So when I was in jail this last time, long story short, I had no desire to really stay sober, go to a halfway house. I didn't know what a halfway house was, because in Jersey, it's just some place you go when you get out of prison and you stay there long enough to violate and go back to prison. So that's all I knew about halfway houses. I got in the drug program, and they brought these folders with all the names of halfway houses, and they had a brochure for Artesian, and it's a girl standing on the beach with like a towel behind her. Not like any like sexy girl, just like a good-looking girl, but on the beach with this towel, like, yay, life is so great. Retraction. I misremembered. It was a girl on the beach with her arms out, but she did not have a towel. But she was wearing all white. So I think I remembered this like 3/4 of the way correctly. Yeah. I was like, man, this looks all right. And people were like, yeah, there's girls there. They said it was like a senior living place, but it was like apartments and blah, blah, blah. Well, in my head, for some reason, I thought it was an old hotel. And like everyone had their own room. For some reason, people said there was a pool. I just thought, hotel? I've never been to Stewart before except driving through. When I got there, I didn't know I had to have a roommate. I didn't know I had to live in a house with other people. I didn't know I had to go to meetings every day at the house unless I got a ride somewhere, and I'm on a bike. How the hell am I going to get to meetings? But it was such a shock. Plus, I got dropped off by a guy from program in jail. He actually took off work to give me a ride. He met me in church, had no idea who I was, but gave me a ride and told me, one day you'll understand and you'll want to help people. And I said, well, this motherfucker's crazy. But he dropped me off, and I went to not the office, the first house on the corner of Jefferson.
That's house number 1.
Yes, and one of those chains.
The ones that are never going to leave, they're going to end up going to sleep there in the long run.
I knocked on the door, and the slower of the two opened the door and just stares at me. And he's like, "Yes." And I said, "Is this Artesian?" He's like, you gotta go around the corner." And I said, "Oh my God, what did I get myself into?"
Oh boy, those are some interesting characters right there. They're still there.
Yes, I know.
They don't plan on going anywhere.
No, they don't.
But like you, when I heard halfway houses, I thought it was for people in prison.
Mm-hmm.
So they said I had to go somewhere. So I picked Artesian. They're driving me down here. And at this point, I'm still sick. I'm real fucking sick. Not ODing or anything. Just I'm sick in the mind. Like I was fucking losing it. You know, how am I going to do this? So I arrive, we start pulling up, and there's someone that works there. He had all these piercings, tattoos on his face, different color hair with braids, white dude. He's still wearing Jinkos from like fucking 92. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then there's another client that's there. He's got half blonde hair, half black hair, tattoos everywhere, earrings in his cheek, and fucking all kinds of stupid shit. I pull up, and I duck my head once I see them, and I tell the driver, I said, "Bro, can you bring me back where I came from?" And he just laughed. He goes, "You got to get out of the car. This is your final stop." So I'm already miserable as it is walking in, not knowing what to expect, you know, and I sat down with one of the guys that I was just talking about, and he's really cool, dude. He's definitely helped me a lot. You know, he's the one that brought me to the DAA, you know, because he talked to me for a while, and he realized what type of person I was. I didn't need to be patted on the back, tell me it's going to be all right. I needed it live and direct, so that's why I choose that home group. So I get there. They put me in this fucking house. I got Serico twins in there. I had a big issue with that. But my roommate was this workout dude. He was big, very nice guy. The other two, Serico twins, bro. I would clean the kitchen at night, and by the morning it looked like a fucking tornado hit it. So I was getting, you know, we have this thing on the thing. You get X's if your shit ain't done, right? So I was getting X's all week long. I said, man, I'm not fucking dealing with this, dude. Like, I'm still sick. And I have that fuck you attitude, and my actions were always like, I'm going to deck you, dog. I call up Barb. We're not too close at this time. I just had gotten there, and I told her, I said, look, Barb, we got some options. One, I want to beat the shit out of them. I just ran into some money. I said, I could just fucking leave, or, you know, and she goes, well, how about I move you? And I'm like, well, that's great. She moved me, and my time there was great. You know, them people love you. They care for you. In the beginning, I didn't think so, but as my first year and 9 months stint happened, really nice people. I was hurting at one point. They allowed me to work off some money. They definitely took care of me. For the most part, everyone was nice. You know, I didn't like the fucking chore thing. Fuck that. Keep my room clean, make your bed, fucking all that. Man, fuck you. I got to deal with sobriety right now on just thinking. Now you're asking me to do other shit?
House cleaning.
Fuck that. But you know, I realize it's all for a reason, because
Yes.
in our addiction, you know, we lose the path of being, you know,
A normal, responsible adult.
normal person. I don't consider it normal. You know, everybody says the normies. No, we're just special people, and they're just people. That's how I kind of look at that situation. I met someone there, which goes back to the rehab romance.
You didn't meet in rehab, though.
No.
Okay, you met yours at the halfway house, just like I did.
Yeah.
So we broke the rules, but at least we didn't hook up with someone in rehab.
Yeah, no, we definitely didn't do that. I met her at Artesian. I was friends with her for over a year. It was great. You know, we joked, we laughed. She'd talk about guys, I'd talk about girls, I talked about my children. We were workout partners, you know, and then something else happened and we went from there, you know, and still to this day we see each other on and off. So it wasn't a bad thing, but it sure makes you not focus on your sobriety, which is, now I see that.
The first 4 months I lived at Artesian, you know how many steps I worked? Step 13.
All day long.
That's it. I didn't do anything. I didn't start really opening the book until I was at Blake's house. But yes, that woman was my higher power. Absolutely. And just like God, she's able to ruin my life in a moment's notice.
In a heartbeat. Oh, and now you're speaking about the steps. So I didn't know that I needed a sponsor. Get the fuck out of here. I gotta marry somebody now? A dude? Like, no, I'm not with that shit. So they pushed the 90 meetings in 90 days. So I guess I was going to meetings. And
Isn't that enough? That's what I
yeah,
said.
right? Now I got to get a sponsor and write down what step I'm on once a month and get the fuck I was very incontent, but I didn't look at the big picture, obviously. So I kept going to meetings. I went with this other guy there, and he goes, Wes, if you don't raise your hand and get a sponsor, I'm going to embarrass you. Now, you know us, we don't like humility, so I wasn't trying to go that route. So I picked a guy, and like you said, I went through my steps within about 5 months of being there. But what I learned from them steps were to stay away from drugs and stay away from alcohol and live day by day for the most part. Then I decided to move out. Very nice time. I mean, we had a great place. Everything was good.
So you met the girl, you moved out, and everything was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. And then obviously, I get a knock at the door one day. It's my 20-year-old kid with all his bags. And I'm like, great, you know, but he's my kid. I love him. I'm not going to leave him out there. And I'm like, what happened? My mom's a drunk. She screamed at me at 2 o'clock in the morning and blah, 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 blah. So I let him go to bed. And then I woke up and tried to probe him for more. And I said, you know, Dylan, there's something I've learned recently. What was your fucking part in it? No, she's a bitch. No, well, Dylan, what was your part? No part. She came home, this, that. She was drunk. She screamed at me. I said, so I do talk to your mom because we co-parent. So you don't clean your bedroom. You smoke weed on the porch nonstop. You smoke it in your room nonstop. Your brother's starting to see what the fuck's going on. You got people there all times of night, and you know what the rules were. So I think you had a real big part in it, man, and you had to keep the litter box clean. Yeah, you know, you had a very big part in it. He's like, oh, fuck you, Dad. But that's okay. I let him live with me, and he was doing great. He was doing the college thing. You know, he had a job. I got him a job as an engineer. It was great. Then he started to lose track of his life. You know, his life became unmanageable. He stopped school. He stopped going to this company. He's just, depression hit him. I know he's got a depression problem, and, you know, he doesn't want to take care of it. So between that and, you know, a lot of surgeries that were going on between her and I didn't know what to do with myself. And, you know, my whole life, when things get good, I self-sabotage that shit. So basically, I just disengaged. I had to come up with all the money in the house. I had to pay for everything, my bills, my kids' bills, whatever the apartment was. It was very difficult. I did that for about 1.5 years. And then finally, my life became so unmanageable that I was showing up to work angry. I was doing a lot of fucked up, like, mental type shit. I mean, I wasn't going crazy, but just my attitude and the way things were just very incontent with what was going on in my life. You know, I took some medication as prescribed. You know, fortunately, Barb is one of my closest friends, basically one of my best friends. We can talk about whatever. She called me up one day and she goes, look, I know you're doing this prescribed, but you gotta help yourself, Wes. So Big Ray and my boss sat down with me and they're like, bro, if you don't get fixed, you know, your work quality is starting to go down and you're the best guy I got. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I went home, packed my shit, and I left her behind. The scar I left on her was very difficult for her. You know, so I went to this place. And this time I said, I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to let people know me. I went to a place that was very, very small called Phoenix down in West Palm Beach. They're dual diagnosis. I went there and I still had that stubborn shit. I'm not taking any medication. You can go fuck yourself. I'm just not doing it. So I get there and I'm one of those, if you're not stimulating my brain with either drugs or adrenaline or something that stimulates me, I lose interest and I want to leave. So first 2 weeks went by and nothing was happening. I said, Barb, I'm ready to get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm not being stimulated. Like, this is bullshit. Like, what the fuck is this place all about? She came back with a stack of fucking homework for me to do. And I'm like, now I gotta do fucking homework? Are you fucking kidding me? I haven't done homework since I was fucking 16 years old, bro. Like, what the fuck is this? So I started doing it. And, you know, my first sheet, Barb and her sat down before I even got there. And she explained to Barb what I'm all about. And then, you know, I had to meet this woman before this happened. And she's like, Barb comes in there and goes, this motherfucker's good. He's got a filing cabinet of bullshit and he will get by on you if you don't catch him. And I'm like, fuck, damn. She's just like spoiling all the fun at this point. She did it because she loves me and she wants to see the best. You know, she sees the potential in me and I didn't see it. You know, I had lost that a long time ago. One of the major things I learned there, and I think has been the most beneficial thing for me, is my ego, where it comes from. Like the separation issues I have. I come to find out at 38, I'm adopted. My dad adopted, you know, it's my stepdad. I got 6 new sisters. That was great. That's where the separation started, you know, events in my life. And then, you know, like the tough guy, my dad used to beat me. My mom didn't like conflict. So I made sure I had to be fucking crazy as fuck so I didn't get any conflict. You know, I narrowed it all down. And once you narrow down where your ego came from, you know, about 90% of the time, it's the way you were raised and who you were around. You know, I realized that this new person was coming out. I was fucking afraid. I mean, I was really afraid. Like, I'm not comfortable with this dude that's got a big heart, that's willing to spill his guts out. That's a sign of weakness for a man, especially me, where I was growing up out there in Miami. That was a sign of weakness. That was a no-no in my book. I said, I have to give this a chance because I don't want this to be a repetitive thing in my life. So, I broke down a couple times in front of caseload with everybody, and I would help people out there. I'd give them advice, or I'd start training them working out, or I'd cook for them, or whatever. I was being the nice guy I've always been, but I lost my way. I was just being him again, being the normal guy I used to know. I broke down one day, and I'm like, Megan comes up to me. She's my therapist, and she goes, "What's wrong, Wes?" I said, "Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. I'm afraid of this new person. It's coming and I'm afraid." And she goes, "People like you." I said, "No." I kept denying it. Then, there's a couple people in there that I looked up to, and they're like, "Wes, you train me, you do this. I like you for who you are," and this, that, and the other. And then the other one, the same thing. So I was like, all right. And then I was in the van one day and I gave some advice. Then I realized, I had these things that the little project they gave us when I first got there. You had to write something good about the other person. So I kept that in my folder, and I finally looked at it. I'm like, wow, a lot of people do listen to me, and I don't have to put on a show. So I went to my therapist, and my white light experience happened. I don't believe that shit, to be honest with you, because if I can't touch it or see it, no, that shit ain't real. Fuck you. What, is a white light supposed to come in front of my face? I'm supposed to get blinded? Yeah, right. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, maybe if you're going to get hit by a train. So I'm in there with her, and I'm telling her how I feel, and that, I've been very vulnerable, crying in front of people and so on and so forth. And it clicked. I realized that I don't have to put on a show for nobody. I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I'm starting to love myself at this point again, and finding that young boy that I needed to find. And I told her that people like me for me, and this, that, and the other. And the weirdest shit happened. I got really fucking hot inside. I got goosebumps from the top of my head to my toes. And I told my therapist straight up, "You need to call the ambulance." She's like, "No, I'm not calling it." She laughed at me. I said, "What the fuck you laughing at? Call the ambulance." I go, "I'm having an issue here." She stopped and she goes, "No, you're having what you've always heard. You're having your experience right now." I didn't believe in it, but the way I was feeling, the way I slowed down, I'm very not 1,000 miles a minute anymore. I'm able to think. I'm able to cope. I'm able to understand my feelings and my emotions before they come out. It was very beneficial. Then I get back to Artesian again. Bar put me in a real good home. Things have been really nice there. This time I'm by the book. Let me do my 90 and 90. I'm not going to go to the gym and tell them I'm lying or sign the fucking sheets or whatever. I'm going to do it right this time. The guys were like, "Why are you not at the gym?" I said, "Look, man, I got to be honest with myself this time, So I started to do that, and, I lost a little track of the gym, but that's fine. My sobriety comes first. If I don't have that down pat, I don't have anything. I fight an internal battle every day with myself, the good side and the bad side. It's real easy to be bad in life. It really is.
Yeah, it's more fun too.
Exactly. I always have to keep an eye on that. And whichever side I feed the most, that's what's going to happen. So if I feed the negativity, like down talking to myself, playing the victim, and doing this, that, and the other, that's just going to allow this addiction to come back out. And to be honest with you, if I hit a starting line again, I'm not going to find a finish line. This time it's ride or die for me. I don't want to have to go through this again. I don't want to be in another rehab, dude. I don't want to be in another transition home. I'm fucking sick of it. They're great for what they are, but I've gotten to a point in my life to where I can't live with my kid. There's a whole bunch of shit going on that determines that. This day and age, I learned a lot. God was a big thing for me, because when I came in, they started talking about God. And I'm like, man, fuck you. I was God. I am God. What are you talking about, God? Get the fuck out of there. I know there was Jesus and shit, but I didn't know about God. What the fuck? I realized this. When we grow up, we have an internal voice, And when you do things bad when you're a young child, you feel it in your stomach. You feel that you're doing something bad. It's like he had put morals in us without us even knowing. So we knew what right and wrong was. But in my addiction, I didn't feel that anymore. It didn't matter what I did. Steal a car, rob a motorcycle, punch somebody, whatever it was, dude. I did not feel that feeling anymore. When I got sober, I started feeling that feeling again. So to me, that's like, I heard God when I was young. I didn't hear him in my addiction. And now I hear him again. So I believe it's time to talk back to him. I found out that he saved my life. I've almost served 25 years in the penitentiary. My grandmother ran over my leg, and I didn't have no surgery or nothing. Bless myself. I should have been shot dead many, many times in my life. I start looking at all these things. I got my health. I'm not a mush head from taking Xanax for over 30 years. I'm still a functioning dude. I mean, I still might be a little sick inside, but, I don't think that's ever going to go away. It takes a lifetime to work on yourself. I'm doing something way different this time. Last time, I lost my way with the program. The program is to set you free in a way of living. And I didn't understand that the first time. That moving out and stuff like that, I stopped with my sponsor, I stopped with my meetings. I'm like, nah, that fuck, I got it attitude. That got knocked out of me this time. And I go to my meetings. I see Leroy every Saturday, unless I'm fucking working like an idiot. I love just being involved now. And before, I thought that was like being a punk.
Yeah, I couldn't stand those people.
Yeah, so, this time I'm just accepting it for what it is. And the God thing is really weird. So God put my sponsor in front of me, right? And then God put another sponsee of his in my way, and and then I hooked them both up. God's been working weird for me, God put you in front of me. You let me go places and speak now. I mean, it's been a blessing, and I've been talking back to God as much as possible. People want to talk about this will shit, like I'm going to give everything over to God. And I understand where they're coming from, but if you gave everything over to God, are you going to pay your bills? Are you going to have a job?
Well, this is what I explained Friday night, that the program is about getting rid of your fears and living with faith. However, faith without works is dead. So I can have faith my rent's going to get paid. But if I don't go to work, rent's not going to get paid. So I have to work.
Damn right.
To continue that faith work.
Damn right.
Unfortunately.
The way my sponsor explained it to me, because I just had a conversation about this, all this will and this, that. He agrees with what I just said. But he goes, Wes, you have to align your will with God's will, and that will make you a better person every day. That'll make you try to walk in his path or do the right thing. Did you help anybody today? I know that goes back to one of the steps, inventory yourself, but if you automatically do that during the day, you're going to be a different person. You're going to be a happier person. And I wake up happy these days. I learned something that a lot of people don't get to learn. I got to learn this program. There's a lot of people out there that have everything they want in life.
And are miserable.
And when they go to bed at night, they're fucking miserable. But I can go to bed in that little single-ass shit over at Artesian, and guess what? I'm fucking happy. My feet are hanging off, and I'm still happy. I can care less, I'm content with myself. I learned to love myself again. There's a lot of things that I've learned in this that now even going back out would be hard because I got just too much knowledge of what's going on. And I'm grateful for the little things in life, like water, a place to sleep, clean clothes, people that care for me. Most thing I'm grateful for is my past, the good, bad, and the fucking ugly, to be honest with you. Because if I didn't go through that, that wouldn't have made me the person I am today. And I definitely wouldn't be sitting in this fucking room with this guy. That would have definitely never happened. So, I get to give back now, which is nice. So I don't forget those, I don't let people rent space in my head anymore. Free rent? Get the fuck out of here. If people want to talk about me and you're going to waste the most expensive currency you got, which is time, you go right ahead. I feel honored you're talking about me. I don't care if you're talking shit or you're talking positive. I'm not thinking about you, but you're thinking about me. Yeah, weigh that one out. So those are some of the things, I didn't lose anything. I gave it away because of my action. And, I learned that from our home group a long time ago. Time is the most expensive currency we got. And I'm not giving any more of that back to these actions or to this addiction. And that reverts back to what I just said in the beginning. And there's people somewhat take this wrong, but, I don't care. I say it all the time. I don't give a fuck who's in your life. It could be your mother, your sister, your brother, your aunt, whoever, your kids, your dog, your cat, whatever. Remember, without you, there is none of them. If you don't fix yourself and help yourself and be a better person for you, there is none of those things going on. The hardest step for me was looking at myself in the mirror, seeing the ugly person that I become and understanding that person and understanding that I don't like that fucking person. Today I found, like I said, I have found that internal little boy that I was. The one that's loving, caring, that's open, that, I've always spoke the truth, but more in a harsh way. Now I'm just relaxed with it. Life has been great for me. I got a great job. I've always had good jobs. It didn't matter. I was always functioning. At least I thought I was functioning, but I really wasn't. I was slurring to my customers and everything, but I was still making money,
I still do that.
And all in all, this has been my way. I've had to endure a lot of things, a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering. I'm just tired of it. I'm more relaxed now. I can accept what's going on. I tell people, I say, you know what you do? You feel the feeling and then you let it go. Don't sit there and dwell on it. Something else I learned, which was very, very good for me, there was actually two things. One is how the brain works. We're all addicted and we all have trauma, and our brain works one way. When we get something that bothers us or this, that, and the other, it goes straight to one part of our brain, and that's the action. So that's why you cuss, and that's why you hit somebody, and that's why you act the way you do. We didn't develop the right way of thinking, like absorbing it through the front and going through the back, so you come out with a rational idea, a rational action. Now that I know my brain's been hijacked, I watch what the fuck I say now when I get pissed. Because I know my brain's been hijacked. It's very simple. A lot of people can't gather the concept, but I sure did. And quality of communication. And this can contain to you having roommates down to dealing with your boss. What's the problem? What's the issue? How you feel? And what's the solution? Those three things is very simple.
Could try that out one day. It doesn't always work with my boss and my job, but it's a beautiful theory if I could follow it out, but I'm still a mess.
Well, you can't use you and I in it. You got to use different words. It's a tricky thing, but once you get it down,
that's impossible.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't go, hey, you aren't taking out the garbage. Say, hey, man, I noticed the garbage hasn't been taken out, bro. 2, that makes me feel like you're, that you're not trying to help here. That it makes me feel like that we're not equal. The feeling, and then the solution is, hey, bro, why don't we do this instead of you having the garbage all the time? Let's split it up between me and you.
Instead of you and I, we use we.
We, yes.
That's an amazing concept.
Yeah, that's just a different way of, because when I would enter, man, fuck you, dog. You're not taking out the goddamn garbage. What's
Do
wrong with
you not know who I am?
Yeah, exactly. Like, get the fuck out of here. Do you live like this for real? You could go live outside. I got a tent for you, bro, in the back of my car,
What would you say to somebody who has never been through the steps or hasn't been to a halfway house, hasn't been to recovery, whatever? Imagine this is playing in detox, which it does sometimes. What advice would you have for somebody new?
Look at yourself. This program is to set you free in a way of living. The suggestion I give you, and most of them say, well, I lost this, that, and the other. You didn't lose shit, like I said. You gave it away because of your actions. And when I go to these places with you, Leroy, most of the time when I say my 3 sayings, it hits them hard. And you've noticed that every time that I've done that, there's someone talking to me for 45, 50 minutes after you leave. So those are the words, you didn't lose anything. You gave it away. Time is the most expensive currency we got. So stop giving it away. And you are the most important person. Nobody else is. And you got to look at your fucking self in the mirror to get this right. Understand you. Love yourself again. Because you don't love yourself right now. You might think you do, but you love your ego. And you love this. And you love the madness. You don't love yourself. You just love the surrounding chaos. That's how I usually get to the ones in rehab, man, because they need a shock. If you were to sit there and pat me on my fucking back and say, hey, this is how it works.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, I tell you to go fuck yourself. I needed someone to be direct, so when I talk to these guys, I'm very direct.
And that's why I went to the best detox in the world, St. Lucie County Jail. Oh my God. If I was in detox for real, I'd still be getting high. Someone told me everything was going to be okay. I'd say, all right, let's do it again. I'll just do it right this time. I won't get caught.
I'll be back. Save that seat.
Look at this, our beautiful Key West style environment. Artesian, who are you fucking kidding? When I think of transitional housing, I always think of a white girl on the beach. Is this what my hands look like in real life? Say anything.
Xanax. Xanax.
Thank you for watching The Recovery Idiot. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and visit therecoveryidiot.com. Buy something, you cheap bastard. Find us on social media and hook us up with your hot friends. Party in the city where the heat is on. All night on the beach till the break of dawn. Welcome to Miami. Let's do cocaine and bang some strippers.